Hello. Okay, so for our older grades, I'm just going to add in a very short extra bit of information about some more complex shapes if you would like to try them. You don't have to, but I thought that some of you might be curious, and so that's something I'm going to explain. So, real short. So sometimes you have things like a cylinder shape, right? But it would be like this candle where it's cylinder, but it has that extra thin flat cylinder on top. Okay, ooh, that smells nice. Or you might have something that I kind of touched on before where it was a triangular prism. But this top part right here is more of like a cylinder shape. And then another little cylinder inside of it. That one's a bit more complicated. Or like a vase. Again, cylinder shape, but instead of being the same going all the way up, it kind of angles in and back out again. Or the last one I'll show you is something like this nasal aspirator, where it has almost like a sphere, right? But then the combination would be more of this cone shape at the top with that little opening. So pencil and eraser are very important. All right. So let's say you have a vase like this, right? So basically, I'm going to do this in pencil and eraser, and then I will go back in and I will do it in marker so you guys can see better. So basically, it's the same kind of thing, right? So for that vase, I have my beginnings of my rectangular shape. It's always weird doing this sideways. The beginnings of my rectangular shape, but you know, for the bottom, it would have that curve. So I would add in my curve because it's circular on the bottom, right? And then the top is also circular, but it's smaller, and it kind of angles in on the sides. Right, so instead of going in and doing that top part, I might not have left myself enough room. I'm going to angle in. You could do like a little curve right there just to show that it bends. And then back out again. Kind of like so. And then you would have that curve at the top. And you could either keep it just like that, or with this one it has that lip on the opening where you see how it kind of sticks out. So you could even take it a little bit further and add that part in. It would just, again, be like very smushed down cylinder shape. Right, so it would come out a little ways, go up on the sides, same kind of curve, and then one going across the top to get more of this shape. Okay. So if you need to break it down even further, I should have shown you this to begin with, I apologize. If you needed to break it down even further, you can go in and you could do your rectangle. You you could do that curve that goes in. Another one that comes back out. The line that goes across, and then add in the extras if you wanted to, and then erase those lines. Okay. I think you guys should be able to see that. So, on the back here, we will do our, like the nasal aspirator, this thing. Alright, so again, it's more of like, it starts to look like a sphere. If you hold it like this, it looks like a sphere, but when you turn it, you see that cone shape up top. Sorry. Okay, so to draw something like that, you can always go in and start with just the basic shapes with a circle. Okay, and then I have that triangular shape that comes out of the top. This isn't quite as pointed on the end, it gets cut off. So you could go do that little opening and erase the extra. And it kind of like slowly curves into the cone from that spherical shape, right? So I would actually have it come up like that, a little bit more like that. And then you can get rid of your extra lines. If you want to take it even further, you could add in that piece that sticks out right here, right? And I wouldn't do it straight across because this is rounded. And just like how this opening would be rounded because it's a circle, or the sphere, that opening would be rounded. If I have something that wraps around a circle or a sphere, that will also have a little bit of like a curve to it, so also be rounded. Okay, so rounded. But this doesn't end at the edge. It sticks out just a little bit. So you can have it come out just a little ways and erase your extra lines. Or let me show you with marker. Right, so say I have this bit right here. The lines that are inside of that would disappear. Comes out more of my cone shape, and it has that little opening. Okay, so you could keep it like that. You can add in even more of those little details if you wanted to. Like how it has some of those extra lines in there, those kinds of things. So the combination of multiple shapes is just a little bit more complex. Similar kind of thing with that base for a cylinder that's like this, or with this piece that sticks out right here. So got my candle with the lid. So I would go in, if you want to, you can start out with your rectangle. It looks so crooked when I, so much more straight when I'm doing it sideways. It's okay though. It doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, so if you want, you could start out with your rectangle and then add in curve on the bottom, curve on the top, and erase the extra lines. With this one, to include the lid, this would just go out a little bit further on the sides, right? So I would have those sides that come out a little bit further, and then the curve that comes down. Still a curve on the top that goes down and up. It's not an opening, but there's still a top to the cylinder. And then just erase my extra lines, right? Also kind of reminds me of like a pill bottle. So at the end, it would look a bit more like that, to get something like this. Or if you wanted to go even further and, add in the label, again, just like how the lines are a little bit curved for the aspirator because it's rounded, adding in the label wouldn't just be like a straight edged square, it would be straight on the sides, but then this would also have a little bit of a curve to follow that rounded shape. Okay, and let's see. If you had something like this water bottle, how it has those grooves for me to like screw something on, that tread, cylinder, but it curves in, smaller cylinder, and treads, and the lip that kind of sticks out, right? So that one, so that's the big thing is getting the like basic shape, and then you can add little adjustments like this in. So for the older grades, I just wanted to show you that you could do that in case you wanted to add in a little extra challenge, or keep practicing at home and use this knowledge. Okay, there we go. Okay, so again, got this water bottle really beat up. That's okay. So just like how before we started out with that shape, again, you can make it straight on the ends if it's easier for you, and then add in the curve to erase the straight lines, or you could just jump right in to doing the curves. Now, right up in here, that's the part that gets a little bit more complicated, right? Because if this would be like my straight edge, I have this like curve that comes up. Like that. And then another smaller cylinder that connects to it. And then that little opening. so it would be more like this. And this part right here would actually curve a little bit downwards. This part curves a little bit downwards. So you could have, gotta move it, you could have that downwards curve right there, your downwards curve right there to kind of show that it bends. You can make this like bumpy on the sides where it goes in and out. And where those bumps go in and out, you could add in those grooves, either all the way across or even like halfway across to make it look like it more like a tread for screwing something on. Right? Like a nail. And then on the top, you could do just like the regular opening, or again, this one has more of like just a little bit of a lip. It's rounded, so you could go in and do that like little rounded lip upwards for the opening. And there you have your complex shape. Okay, so I'll hold this up so you guys can see it a little bit better. And we're going to talk about one more, and that will be the end of this one. There's going to be so many more examples of complex shapes that are in your home than I could possibly cover. But just some general things to help you guys get started. Vases are, that step up after the basic shapes. So this is kind of like a vase, but it's triangular instead of circular, right? It's a triangular prism, but the top is circle, right? So this one is kind of a funny one. Let me angle this down a little bit more. And put this away for a minute. So you could get a bit more complicated and do it from like this side. This way it just looks a bit more flat. You can't really see that it is triangular from this angle. So if you were to turn it and do it like so, that would be how I would choose to best show the actual shape of the container. So say with this one, I have almost like, hold on, I gotta adjust. I'm gonna do this one bigger instead of trying to move it around like that so you guys can see. And I'm gonna tape it down so it stops wiggling on me. You stay. Okay. Alright. So, what I would do for something like that, which is probably the most complicated object that we're going to cover, is I would start out with more of the beginnings of like a rectangular shape, but it is a triangle. So instead of being, like circular and adding in a curve or rectangular and having that straight edge, we're going to do a little bit more of like a wide V. Right? So it's going to come down like that. Same thing with right up here. Or if you wanted to, you could also go in and you could draw the rectangular prism first. But unless you're looking at it like from this angle, it becomes a little bit harder to draw the triangles first, because as the triangles move and the angle changes, they're not that like equal on all three sides. It changes the shape a little bit of the triangle. So you could try both ways. Right. You could try it this way, or you could go in and you could say, I have a triangle, but it's not quite the same on all three sides because it's more at an angle. And then have your triangles match up a little bit better that way. But this line back here, in this one, you might be able to see it because it's glass, but for this, we're not going to see that one. And we are going to have a line coming down, though, to connect these that we will see. Now we have that base of our container, and then for the top, that would be like a cylinder on the rectangular or triangular prism, excuse me. All right, so I would have the beginnings. It actually kind of curves at the top though. But there is like this curve that comes downwards where it meets right in the middle, if you can kind of see that, right? And then it comes up. I have my opening that has a lip, but instead of just seeing the other side of the opening, I have another cylinder shape within it for the cork, right? So my cork would come up and stick out, and I would have that part. Now you could stop there, and that would be perfectly fine. You could say, this is my opening, do the cork on that, and because it's glass, you could have the cork come down into it. Each thing just kind of like adds a new level of complication. But then you'd have all these extra lines to be erased. Okay, but what that does is it adds like the idea of something sitting inside of the opening, how it has just barely that part that goes back behind. So I'm going to do this in marker now so that you can see those details, right? So I have my triangular prism. I keep mixing up those two. Sorry, guys. Okay, so I have my triangular prism, and then it curved to start going into a cylinder. Right, there's kind of a curve that you can see right here where that triangular shape starts to transform into the cylinder. I have that opening right there, the lip that sticks out. But then inside of it, I have my cork, which is also a cylinder shape. You can stop there, or because it's glass, you can have the bottom part of the cork that comes down, again a little bit rounded on the bottom. And because it's sitting inside of another opening, you could do those little lines that start to go back as if you're going to continue it, but they stop because there's an object in there. Right? I mean, if you wanted to take it even further, you could go in and do like another triangle within it to try and show that it has something inside of it. In this I have sand from Moab because I like to collect sand. Alright, so that would be probably the more complicated object. But just to show you that you can definitely, once you have some of these shapes down, you feel confident with it, and you want to try and draw things around your house, you can start to combine these shapes in order to do even more complicated shapes. And again, it just takes your art to a whole new level. It's pretty fun. Alright, so if you want to, you can use that knowledge, you can try it, be kind to yourself if it doesn't work out. Remember, it takes practice, and if you just want to leave it, you can just leave it, okay? Alright, I'll see you guys next week.